Hi everybody, this is Ellen. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make the Happy Milk Carton. I think it's super adorable. I love how it turned out. It took a little bit to figure out the shape on just the way we make the loom. Usually everything's round, so to get a more squarish design took a little bit of finagling, but I finally think that I found one that I love, so I'm going to share it with you. It is a little bit band heavy. It's 435 white bands, 32 blue bands, and 15 red bands, but I have to say I totally think it's worth it because it's so cute. So but we'll get started. Put them over here. We'll make the cheeks first and the eyes. The cheeks are just one band on your hook wrapped around into a figure eight. Then you grab both bands, wrap them around again, and then you pull through two bands the color of your milk carton, like that. So that'd be a cheek band, and you'd want two of those. For the eyes, I use the larger 9mm pony beads for mine. You can use a 7mm one still. If you don't have a bead to use, you can use bands. If you want the smaller eye, you just use one band. If you want the larger eye, then you'll use two bands together. But then you just do the same thing as the cheeks, put them on your hook, wrap them around into the figure eight, then grab all the bands, wrap them around again, and then pull through two bands that are the color of your eye, or the color of your milk carton, right? Milk carton, like that. So you don't want two eye bands, however you're going to do that. I'm going to put mine on later as we go because they're not too hard when you have the larger beads. And then we want one loom, wrong end towards us, and all of our bands. We're going to start by placing 5 cap bands on our loom. So we want it to be kind of in the center, so I'm working starting about the 5th pin up is where I'll put my first one. These want to be white, or if you have the clear jelly, you could use that as well, because it helps to create this shape at the top. So you'll want to make sure that it is the same color as your milk carton. So just one band wrapped around one time. And we'll do that on 5 pins up. Like that. Then you'll take your hook, grab the cap band, and you'll pull it across the loom to the other side. And do that for each one of them. And then push it way down to the bottom of the pin. Clear jelly would probably work better just because they do snap back to shape better than the opaque bands, but not everybody has those, so we'll use these. So we want like that. Now what we're going to do is create X's on the loom. We're going to start down here on the left, cross over to the right. It's 2 bands. Everything will be double banded unless I say differently. But 2 bands like that. And then 2 bands right on top to make an X. Then we'll do that again. And keep going up 2 more X's. Like that. Then we're going to want cap bands here. It'll be 2 bands wrapped around one time. So 2 bands, wrap it around once. Then you want to take your hook, go in through the cap band that has the band on the bottom of the other band. Should be the same if you put them on the same as me. So starting on the right, I'll go through the cap band, grab those 2 bands, pull them up through, and then bring them all the way back across the loom towards themselves. Then we'll go to the left side, go through that cap band, grab the 2 bands on top, pull them back towards themselves. And we're not touching those cap bands that we put on first yet, so make sure you avoid those. So then back over here on the right, go through the top 4 bands, grab those 2, pull them back. Then the left side, and the right. You're just going to keep alternating down back to the beginning. Like that. So I'm going to push those bands down. Now we're going to do, it'll be 2 rows all the way around. So here's our first row, 2 bands. Like that, our first row. And then when we flip, we're just going to flip the kind of the middle 4 bands. We're still leaving that cap band alone that we put on first. So just the 4 bands from the X row that we put on. Like that. So that's our first row. Push those down. We'll do another row right on top. Still 2 bands. And I will show how to make the straw at the end. It's fairly simple, but whoa. Like that. Do the same thing as before, just flip the middle kind of 4 bands there. Like so. So now we're going to go back and we're going to flip over the cap bands. So let's grab those 2 bands, flip them over the top of the pins. Just like that. Push your bands down. Now we're going to increase, so the top right up here, I can just pick up these top 2 bands and pull them towards the center. There's no crossing here. It's a little hard to tell, but the bands that are on this pin, they come around to this pin over here. And if we come down to the bottom left, I can't just pick up the top 2 because if I did, they would cross. So I have to take up all 4 bands, bring them over towards that middle, then grab the top 2 and bring them back to the pin they were on. So there's no crossing here now. Now we're going to do a row all the way around. Make sure you get to the middle pins that we just added in to our pattern. Sometimes it's easy to forget because I don't use that middle pin very often unless I'm starting something like a starburst or something. Just like that. Then you'll flip either the bottom 4 or the bottom 2 if you're by where we expanded. So this one just has 2. And then the one down here will have 2. And up here's 2. and the middle is 2. Now if you want to unstick these from the middle, like that. I'm going to push your bands down again. Now we're going to increase again. So I'll start up here on the top. This middle pin we're going to increase. The top band is going to go up a pin, and the bottom bands are going to go over to the right. So these bands that are on the right, they come down to this pin right here, and the ones up here, they come over to this side. So what we need to do now is we need to increase this pin on the top left. So we have to pick up all 4 bands, bring them up a pin, and then bring the top 2 back. So it should look like this now. So this band comes around right here, this one over here, and this one comes down the side. So we'll go to the bottom portion. So this one in the middle, we're going to increase again. So I'm going to pick up the top 2 bands, and they are going to go over to the left. The bottom 2 bands will come down. And then over here on the right, we have to pick up all 4 bands, bring them down a pin, and then bring the top 2 back. Like that. So that's what it should look like now. So now we're going to do, it'll be 2 rows around, 2 bands still. Make sure you include your new expanded areas. So this is our first row. My son called me again late. I was expecting it this time, so I wasn't quite as freaked out. And it was from his own phone, so that was much better. But he calls and he's like, I'm coming home tonight. I'm like, it's 11:30 at night. Why are you guys coming home tonight? He's like, well, I can just catch a ride tonight because I have to go back on Sunday. So like that. Then we want to flip either the bottom 4 or the bottom 2, depending on if we're by where we expanded. I'm like the counselor in training thing is a go then? You've gotten all the information? He's like, yeah, I gotta be back here by noon on Sunday. I'm like, okay, anything else you need to tell me about it? He's like, no, I just need to be here back at noon. I'm like, oh child, I need to know some more information than that. He's like, well, you could probably talk to somebody. I'm like, you do know that it's late at night and tomorrow's the weekend, right? Like, well, it'll be fine. It's like that. So we'll do another row all the way around. Same thing, 2 bands. And then he's like, I can bring my bike up there. I'm like, well, that's cool. He's like, yeah, but you need to buy me another helmet. I'm like, I do, huh? What's wrong with your helmet? Well, it's not really cool enough anymore. I'm like, it's like, well, it's less than a year old. He's like, yeah, but some of the other counselors here, they have these really cool helmets, and I need to have one like them, and it'd be cool. And I'm like, well, we'll see. I'm like, I don't know if I need to replace for that reason, but it's like that. And then we'll flip the bottom 4 all the way around. It's tough because as a parent, you want to give everything you can to your kids, but there's always the caveat within reason, because if you buy brand new stuff all the time, I think it diminishes the appreciation for the things that you have. But you want your kid to be kind of, I guess, popular and in and all that good stuff, and sometimes that comes from buying things. So we shall see. So like that. Push your bands down. I'll probably buy it for him. So now what we're gonna have to do is these 4 pins right here, we're going to have to puff them. So the kind of the second pin's up and the second pin's down. And to puff, it's 2 bands. I'm going to go through the bands that are on those pins, grab the 2 bands, pull them up through, put both ends back on my hook, take the bands off the pin, and then put the bands on my hook back onto that pin. And we'll do that on the other side. These are essentially the corners of the design. So then down here, second pin up on both sides. Like that. These 4 are puffed. Now what you're going to want is your bands that you're going to use for the border here. I figure this is my 2% milk and this will be my skim milk. Plus they're blue and pink, so it works. And these are just cap bands on every pin. 1 band wrapped around 1 time. And you do that on all the pins. I think it will depend on how much that helmet is that he wants. Because, I don't know, he goes through things super crazy fast. So like that, cap band on every pin. And then we're going to do a row around, so you want to push these down. So 2 bands, and you'll go right on top of the cap bands. You want to try not to overlap so it's a little bit easier when you're hooking, but just all the way around. My son, he goes through I think he has kind of like a shoe addiction. I mean, my kid, he's growing up faster than, he's already over 6 foot, I think he's 6'2" now at 14. So he's just kind of growing like crazy. And so we've replaced his shoes often because of that. So like that. Then you'll flip over the bottom 4 bands, and then you flip over the cap band. And you want to do it in that order so they don't get stuck or kind of twisted around each other. Bottom 4, then the cap band. And I don't mind replacing the shoes and things like that because he's growing out of them. That's not a big deal. And plus they wear out. But lately, he's had this kind of, I think it was 4 months ago we bought him like new Nikes or something, and not cheap shoes. And he has already wanted new shoes because they are, apparently the Nikes are scuffed along the toe. And I said, you know, that happens when you wear them. I'm like, there's no holes or rips, or they're not uncomfortable to wear. You haven't said anything about that. And he's just like, yeah, but they're all scuffed at the toe. And he's like, I need new shoes. I'm like, yeah. And this is, you know, like I said, we just bought him 4 months ago. We bought him new shoes, and it was like 4 or 5 months before that we bought him new shoes. So I think that he just kind of likes shoes, and he likes them to be pretty. But he doesn't realize that if he wears them, they're going to get dirty. So I'm like, Yeah, we're gonna have to work on that one too. I'm just kind of hooking a little bit of this. He ended up getting new shoes. I'm a pushover mom sometimes. So we have that. Now we're going to do another row all the way around, 2 bands. Plus it helped that we ended up stopping at a, it's called the shoebox. Yeah. Shoebox, which is this kind of big deal shoe store by Madison. And we were buying shoes for my youngest two because they needed summer sandals, and of course he's there prowling all the shoes, and he finds a pair that are actually reasonably priced for the brand and how new they are and stuff like that, and so of course he ended up getting them. But yeah, it's really tough being a parent at times. I don't know. Hope I'm doing it right. So like that. Flip over the bottom 4. I really like that shoebox store because they have tons of shoes. But then they also carry tall socks, like knee-high socks. And I kind of have this weird thing about tall socks. They're like, I love rainbow tall socks or any tall socks that kind of have a goofy pattern to them. They're just fun. So like that, push your bands down. Next is going to be our eye row. So you want your eyes. I'll put my bands in real quick. So starting down here, still 2 bands. Our eyes are going to go in the very center of our pins here. So you're going to go up 3, and then you'll start with your eyes. And this time they do go right next to each other. And then it's 2 bands all the way around the rest. I think that I've always loved tall socks, but it wasn't until I worked as a police officer, and you have your uniform you wear every day, and you don't really have a choice as to, I mean, maybe you can change some of your tactical gear or your vest, or, I mean, but mostly the prices that they cost, you're not changing it very often. And so my kind of rebellion was under my combat boot shoes. So like that, then flip the bottom 4 all the way around. I'd wear my my rainbow knee-highs or whatever crazy colored sock of the day, just because it was, so I could still kind of be like, you know, throwing my own little flair of me while I'm working, and definitely kept it to myself for quite a while, and then finally, of course, somebody saw because I, bend down or something, and my pant leg came up, and like, what you wearing there? Those don't look like official socks. And I'm like, oh yeah, they are. They're just for happy officers that want to bring a smile. So like that. Next is our cheek row. So you want your cheeks. Same thing as before. 2 bands for the first 3 spots, and then our cheeks. And then 2 bands around the rest. But I will say that it definitely made many kids laugh after it was out that I was wearing them, of course. It would give little kids kind of like a a little chuckle to see that they're wearing these happy socks or funny socks. There's a lot of little kids that are kind of intimidated by cops at first, and it's like that. Flip over the bottom 4. Point is, I love tall socks. They're awesome. Can't wear 'em much in the summertime though. Unless they crank up the air conditioner and wear them around the house then. Push your bands down. Then you'll want your mouth band. Just one band. I'm going to put it on the hook and double it. Then grab it, pull it off. And then in the front here, in between the cheeks, I'm going to go in through the bands that are on this pin. Grab my mouth band, pull it up through, and then wrap it up around the pin. And then pull it down. And then I'll bring it up over the top of the pin. So it looks like that. Now we're going to add our second row of cap bands. So the same thing as before, just one band wrapped around one time on all the pins. Like that. I'm going to push them down a little bit more. Then we're going to do what will end up being 3 rows all the way around. So starting on our first row, we'll do 2 bands all the way around. Make sure you don't catch those cap bands like before. I say 3 bands all the way around, but we do need to do the cap bands in there, so don't turn me off and pause me just yet. I hope my blue background looks alright. I forget at times that you can't see as well sometimes the lighter colors on my other background. So like that. Then you'll flip the bottom 4 and then flip over the cap band for this row. Because for me, I can see them fine, and then even in editing, I have 2 different monitors I use, and they always look, I can always see them on there, but then there's always some people who have a hard time seeing them if I forget to change the background when I'm using lighter colors. So I'm trying to remember, but a lot of times I just kind of go, well, I know it looks okay, so hopefully maybe just try going full screen or something. I've also watched them on my TV before, which is like a really weird thing to be like, I'm on the actual television in our living room. That's really weird. Even weirder if I was talking on there, like my face. It's like I know that it's out there, but it's weird. like that. Push your bands down. We're going to do our next 2 rows all the way around. We're done with those bands. Need more white. So 2 bands all the way around. Like that. Flip the bottom 4. Lucky band, hold on. That probably wouldn't do me any good. Like that. So we have 1 more row to go all the way around. 2 bands. I guess tonight when my son finally walked to the door, I was like, "Where's all your stuff? Like, you didn't leave it at camp, did you?" And he's like, "No, it's in the garage." I'm like, "Are you gonna clean it up?" Or he's like, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow." He's like, "I don't think you want it in the house anyways. It kind of all stinks." I'm like, "That's point well taken. I appreciate that." So hopefully he ends up doing his laundry tomorrow and not me. So I won't be able to stand the smell. Like that. And put the bottom 4. And the scratch on his face from clotheslining himself. It's not as bad as I envisioned in my head, so that's a good thing, but he's definitely got a scratch from like the corner of his mouth towards his ear. And I'm like, that definitely adds some character. So it doesn't look like it's anything that'll scar, but I think he probably thinks it's kind of cool right now. So push those down. And then once again we are going to puff our corners, those same 4 pins that we did before. So we'll do those. I'll start up here, 2nd pins down. Just want to put your hook through, grab those bands, pull them up through, both ends on, bands off the pin that are on there, and then bands on your hook back on. And just come across to the other side, do the same thing. And then down here, 2nd pin's up. Both sides. So these 4 are puffed now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reduce. So we're going to reduce the bottom first. So I'm just going to pick up the top 2 bands, bottom middle first. Top 2 bands, these are coming from the left, so I'm going to pull them over to the right. And the other 2 bands are going to go over to the left. And I'm going to go up to the other end, pick up the top 2 bands, They're coming from the left, so they're going to go to the right, and the other two will go to the left. And then we're going to reduce the middle pin on both sides. So it's there'll be 3 pins below and 3 pins above, so that middle pin. And it's the same thing. Pick up the top 2, see where they're coming from, and then take them to the opposite pin. So these are coming from above, so I'll take them below. And then the other ones will go the opposite direction. We'll do that on the other side. Top 2 coming from below, so they'll go above, and the bottom 2 will go below. Push those down. Now we'll do a row all the way around, 2 bands. So you'll have the long stretch here now, and 2 normal. Then it'll be a long stretch right in front, 2 normal, a long stretch in the back, and then just do that same pattern that was on the front side down the back side. Just don't forget your long stretch. Like that. Then when we flip, the end pins are going to have 6 bands to flip over, the 2 reducing bands, and then the 4 bands from the row before. And we'll have 4. Then these middle 2 pins will have 6 as well. So once you flip over both those, you can flip this little piece over the middle. And then we'll have 4. And then right here will be 6. And it'll be the same thing on the other side. So 6, 4, 6, 6, 4, and 6. So you want to push those down. So now we want to reduce again. So this time we're going to reduce, there's like little sets of 3 on the loom now. We're going to reduce the middle pin on each little set. So right here on the lower right, we'll take the middle one, grab the top 2 bands, they're coming from above, so they'll go below, and the other 2 will go above. And then up here, same thing, top 2 bands are coming from above, so they'll go below. And the other ones will go above. Other side. Top 2 are coming from below, so they'll go above. Other 2 will go below. And these ones up and down. Gonna push those down. So I normally don't like to do the long stretches all the way around, but we're just about finished. So 2 bands, and it'll be long stretches all the way around. Like that. So then on every pin you're going to have 6 bands to flip over. Every pin out of the 8 pins that are left. Like that. So now we are ready to close. So I'm going to unstick all these from the ends. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these 4 bands down a pin. Like that. So now I'm going to use my rainbow loom hook and I'm going to take these all off. So just take your time, go slow. Make sure that the ones towards the end are pushed down, because it will kind of want to pop off as you go. So just come around. This is the longest stretch right here. And you kind of want to just stretch it out. And you'll take 2 bands, pull them through everything. Carefully. And I have 3 bands on my hook, not sure where that came from. Right there. There we go. Both ends back on, make a slip knot. And you want to hide your tail. Alright, so now it's going to look like this. And you're like, that is nothing like what you just did. So now what we have to do is, when this was on the loom, like the place where I had you puff, which should be right around here, those are the corners, but on the loom we had them out straight, so they didn't actually have their kind of own little corner. Like up here, that's kind of more where the end of the loom was, so they kind of created its own corner. So we have to just adjust where those are. Doesn't take a whole lot to do it, it's just finding the right bands. And to do that on the front side, we have our bands up here for our little border that we did. So for this band, which is, here's the one that's, we have these 3 right here by the eyes. So the eyes are kind of in the middle. These 2, this one right here, and this one right here are the corners. So what I'm going to do is right here with this in line, I'm going to take the bands and I'm going to pull them out to create our corner where it should be. This is a lot like the kind of the way I did the ice cube one. We just kind of have to make our corner where it's supposed to be. So we'll take a little bit of moving the bands around to get that to happen. There isn't really a great way to avoid doing that unless I completely change how I make them. So then what you want to do is, once you've found one corner that you're working on and that is the correct spot, so right here is the one corner, so we have here, so then you want to count around, and there should be 3 on the side in the middle, so technically it looks like 5. So our next corner is actually right here, so it's over. So here's our last corner, 1, 2, 3. This is our other corner. So you just need to adjust that one out. And this, like I said, it does take a little bit of time to do this, but once you find the right corner and you start pulling them out, it looks fine, or it's fairly easy. But you just keep adjusting until you get to where you like it. So if this is my corner, and I have 3, here's my other corner. And I won't lie, it takes a while to get it perfected the way that I like it, so don't think that if you're taking forever that you're having issues with it. It's just that we like to make sure that things are perfect. So then the other one would be right here. I know I can already tell they'll have to go back around and adjust these again, but to be where I want them to be. But that's a much better start than what it was a little bit ago. You'll notice I mostly only started kind of like right above and then went down. There is increasing up here, so as you get, once you get the base squared out, then come back up here and adjust any of the little bands up here that to make it so that it has the little kind of top of the milk carton appearance and then goes down. Right here is where you'll probably have to pull out some bands to get rid of the little cave-in that happens right there. Not sure why it does that because there's no reason for it, but it happened on my other one as well. So, but you just keep going around adjusting your corners until you get it the way that you like it. So hopefully you don't find that too annoying. Sorry if you do. And the straw. Let me fix this one. So I'll adjust that and I'll put it on my Instagram page. You can see that I made it pretty. But for the straw, it's just one band doubled on your hook. So it's a figure 8, then you grab both, double it again, and then you'll pull through. I did 14 more bands through that were doubled. This is cool. These are the chameleon bands. Now, somebody told me these are the chameleon bands from Rainbow Loom, and I kept seeing that people were like, oh, it has to do with water temperature. You get them wet and then they change colors. Well, my hands are definitely not wet, and my straw looks yellow now, so I think somebody either made a mistake from my bag, or I don't know, maybe I just can't tell if my hands are wet. Pretty sure they're not, so maybe it is body heat, which I think is more likely, because I know when I was sorting them it was horrible. Because I like to do them in my hands, so, and if they're changing colors while you're holding them, that makes it a little difficult. And of course I was doing a lot of talking there, so I have no real assurance that that was the whole 15 I needed, but it's close enough. Then I took one last band. I still doubled it, and then I pulled it through, both ends back on, and then I did a slip knot with what was left. So I have that. And then I just kind of went maybe 6 down or so, put my hook in through the little V. And then if you hold your thumb or something kind of right on top of that area in the hook, and then just pull it away from each other, you can get that bend for your straw. And although I need to do some more puffing, you either go straight up through the bottom, and then you just kind of come out, not like right at the end, but kind of in a ways, so that like it gives the appearance of that it has a straw in it, and then you closed it back up. And then I normally don't grab the tie ends. I actually grab like in through the last section and then pull that down in. Twist my straw so it's the direction that I want. I like that. Oh, it's so cute. So hopefully that you find this easy to do, especially the last portion. It is a lot of just going over. Like I said, as long as you kind of think on the front, it's easier on this one here. On the front there's 3 in the middle, and then the ends, the corners are kind of like, there's 5 in the front, 3 in the middle. The ends will be the where you pull out the bands to make that corner. And it's the same thing on the sides. 3 in the middle, the 2 ends, the next 2 are where you would pull out the corner. And it's like that all the way around. So it'll take a little bit of adjusting, but like I said, I will show that I made this one awesome by putting on my Instagram later. when I post. But I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I'm very thankful for all of you watching my tutorials and listening to my stories and my banter, and it means a lot to me that you guys are out there supporting me. But thank you guys again. I will have more for you soon. If you make these, share them with me on my Instagram, which is at Crafting Fantastic, or on my Facebook, which is Feelinspiffy or Crafting Fantastic. And then, of course, it would be fabulous if you subscribe to my channel so you know when I come out with new things. And don't be afraid to share the word about my video and like them, because that helps people find them. So, but thank you guys, and I'll have more for you soon.